Story 1. Incredibly, what is that worry going to do? Anxiety about things you cannot control, while normal, is not conducive to progress. Do not let it stop you from doing what you need to do. Story 2. People are going to try and deceive you. They've already started doing it with Elon Musk's Nazi salute, which is just the first of many incidents to come. They are going to tell you that the things you are seeing with your own eyes aren't happening, that you're crazy for thinking this is anything but politics as usual. They'll tell you that everything is going to be okay. It won't be. Donald Trump is a fascist moron who controls all three branches of government. You should assume that at some point over the next 4 years, state services will be absent at best and hostile at worst. The next 4 years are going to be bad. We live in a fundamentally different country today than we did yesterday. Story 3. I honestly wouldn't be worried if I felt that it would only be 4 years. If I felt like these 4 years could be a wake-up call followed by an overwhelming win like Joe Biden did before, I would buckle down, keep my head down, and make it through. But with how Donald Trump is talking about how Elon Musk did very well with the voting machines, and we already have enough votes, said months before the election, and you won't have to vote anymore, and Elon Musk knowing the results of the election before they were published, I don't think this is a 4-year situation. We're in this for the long haul until revolution, and I'm worried for myself and my loved ones about what we will experience over the coming decades. Story 4. I'm in Australia and even I'm worried. When the United States of America farts, the rest of the world has to smell it. The whole Make America Great Again movement emboldens the Nazis and other idiots here, and they become more prevalent. Story 5. You all need to start paying attention to the accounts posting things like this. It is obvious engagement bait. A new account, and this is the only thing they have ever posted. You all are just interacting with bots. Story 6. Yes, but I am not going to let 47 live rent-free in my head. I am just going to focus on the things I can do and enjoy my time with my friends and family. Do things I enjoy and only focus on state and local politics, since that has the most immediate impact on our lives. Story 7. Sorry if you felt like you were alone, but anyone with half a brain is at some degree of being terrified and are furious. Story 8. Worry, don't worry. It doesn't matter. Worrying does nothing to help. It is going to be what it will be, and not much of anything we say or do will change it. Story 9. 4 years? You guys will vote for him again or someone like him. People now know they can be like him and become president. This is your future now. This was not a fluke. Story 10. I don't want our rights to be illegal for the rest of my life. If everything else fails, give me 2 weeks at the end of my life where we aren't persecuted. I have a decent amount of life expectancy left. Many decades, but someday the Reaper will come. Story 11. Totally. At this rate, I would not be surprised if we get flying cars, robot overlords, and a new flavor of Oreo all in the same year. But hey, whatever comes, we will handle it one meme and coffee at a time. Story 12. Worried they will not do enough to repair all the damage leftists have done to society, academia, and the economy, but it will at least be a step or two in the right direction. Story 13. Yes, finally we can be judged by the content of our character instead of the color of our skin. And no more mental illness being celebrated, especially in June. Go ahead and ban me. People are sick of the nonsense. That's why we have the fool that was inaugurated yesterday. Story 14. I'm excited for them. Although I was worried 4 years ago. Financially, I was doing way better 4 years ago than I am now. Everything has gotten so expensive. I know I'll get downvoted since Reddit seems super liberal, but I'm sharing my honest opinion. Story 15. On the contrary, I am looking forward to the future of America. After Biden's last-minute pardons, I am so glad the Democrats are out of power. Remember when Biden said no one was above the law? I am sorry, Democrats, but you lost your credibility. Story 16. Crikey, people and their drama. He was already in before, and looking as an outsider, things were pretty good for Americans. Low unemployment, low cost of living, no wars, biggest Middle East peace deal in history, low taxes, energy independent with low gas prices, border control, low crime, and so on. Story 17. Things might be frustrating, but what can you do about them? Email or call your senator and get nothing in response. There's no point in worrying about what you can't control. Focus on the things you can. Story 18. I am Canadian and deeply concerned about what the next 4 years will bring. And I'm not so convinced he'll leave at the end of his term, should he live that long. The only thing I have going for me is that I am no longer of childbearing age, which is something in their Handmaid's Tale of a dystopia. Story 19. I survived 2020 to 2024. That was easily some of the worst times we've seen in a while. Looking forward to what's ahead. The country has spoken loud and clear. Thankfully, the echo chamber known as Reddit doesn't dictate anything in the real world, just what's on their screens in front of them. Story 20. Not worried at all. Non-stop display of incompetence and racism, with apologists coming from all directions trying to explain why it isn't. Exactly what we voted for. Delivered on day 1, too. Story 21. No, Reddit is made up predominantly of young, broke liberals. This is not Nazi Germany. You're all simply soft individuals. Go work hard at a job and you'll have literally nothing to worry about. Buttercups. Story 22. Why be worried? Because the seditious wannabe little dictator got a second term on the backs of morons who think he fights for the working class while he is actually desperately appealing to any billionaire. Or because the treasonous individuals who attempted to commit a coup on his behalf are now going to get away with zero punishment. Story 23. No, not at all. Because no matter what, my bottom line is unchanged. I have to continue to grind, pay my bills, and feed my kids. It's a rat race, and if you get off the wheel, someone else will come and take your place. If you slow down, someone will come and run you over. If you think any of the last dozen presidents were really in charge of anything, you are drinking too much of the Kool-Aid. Keep your head up and keep moving forward. Things are going to happen that we don't like, and I hope we have the heart to take on the challenges that they bring and the strength to do what we can to change the things we cannot accept. Story 24. In the near term, climate efforts and pandemic response globally are going to suffer along with a lot of economic uncertainty and possibly even some wars. On the other hand, I think this will lead to a stronger Europe decoupled from United States interests, and that's kind of nice. Long term, this is an obvious step back in the goal of stopping petty tribalism and unifying all people under a single flag, but long term, it probably won't matter much. Story 25. Only thing I will really pay attention to is probably whether China moves towards its 2027 plan to take Taiwan. But its economy is looking a little shaky at the moment. Story 26. Looking at the last few years, I'm wondering what can possibly even happen that would surprise me anymore. A nuclear weapon being used would feel like watching another car crash from the office window. I ran out of emotions and care and end up rather apathetic. Story 27. I survived the first 4 years and regrettably spent most of it watching from a distance and taking in hours of daily news, waiting for a tiny little hand to push a big red button. Thank goodness they disabled that button and replaced it with one that summons Clark, the Diet Coke guy. This time around, I'm just going to ignore most of it. I'm staying away from YouTube news shows and I've deleted Facebook and Twitter, more for my own mental health. Ride the storm. Story 28. I saw this and am very dubious that the majority of the country could feel optimistic about the next 4 years. Story 29. Very much so, given that Instagram seems to have banned the hashtag Democrat, but not the hashtag Republican. This new regime controls every faction of the media. Let's hope it is limited to 4 years. Story 30. Not at all, mostly curious. I realize for many people there are some items that will make their everyday more difficult, and I feel for those in that position. There will be bad, but there will also be good, and there can only be 4 years either way, then we are done with extremism. To be honest, the last 4 years have been extremely hard for so many people, and our government really does need an overhaul in many ways that's long overdue. I am hopeful that the good that comes will be sweeping and vastly improve our country's general well-being. There are some bad things that will happen, but those can be undone, and that's saying that everyone will bite, and they won't. Story 31. Honestly, it feels like we are living in a dystopian novel sometimes. Between the political chaos and wild headlines, it is hard not to feel anxious about the future. I am worried about the environment taking a hit and the general vibe of division getting worse. But at the same time, I feel like there is so much power in people coming together and pushing back when things feel wrong. The next 4 years might be messy, but I hope we all stay loud and keep fighting for what matters. Story 32. I'm not worried about what will happen. I'm excited. I think we're going to elevate and learn new things. The only thing I would be worried about is the world ending or some random stuff. Story 33. No, I don't really follow politics. My day-to-day life doesn't see any real change regardless of who is in office. I will live, I will die, and I will pay my taxes. Nothing will change that. Story 34. I am not American, and I feel like there is no hope. There is this bizarre smugness from people who do not care about being factually wrong or morally wrong. They only care about winning. They feel like winners, so it does not matter that their lives will not improve under Trump. They will continue living in poverty and dying at a much younger age than the rest of us, resenting anyone who does not see things their way. Their worldview is so focused on themselves being right, mainly justifying their feelings, such as fear of immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, and the breakdown of the 1950s nuclear family. We are witnessing ecological collapse. We are witnessing people reject rationality and literal facts for pseudoscientific fantasies, like space lasers, vaccine microchips, and satanic cults, to name a few. I do not really know how to come to terms with it. People I once knew as really kind and intelligent have changed so much, I barely recognize them. They are poisonous, vitriolic, and hypocritical. There is no way for me to meet them at their level, no discussions to be had because I am gay. It is just over. There is no getting better from here. Things are going to get worse. Billionaires have successfully divided people enough that our futures have been sold to feather their nests while the planet rots. We cannot solve global issues when large enough populations of people simply do not believe the problem exists. The only hope I have right now is that, years from now, the people who support far-right individuals like Trump and Elon Musk will be hit with a strong dose of self-realization. I hope they realize the gravity of their behavior and choices and live very long lives with the heavy guilt that comes with it. Story 35. I do not have time to worry about the next 4 years. I work, take care of my family, and attend all the life functions in between everything else. The last 4 COVID years were pretty crazy, right? We made it through that mess. Enjoy each day here. It is not worth worrying about. If you have time to worry, find something to do. Go visit a third world country. See how good we have it. I have seen some really bad places. I respect this country every day. Story 36. Are any Canadians or Greenlanders even a little worried? I'll be a little disappointed if the nut job doesn't even try to expand United States territory. That would be something for the books. Story 37. Not really, no. The films out of Hollywood have been on a downward spiral for years. The strikes last year should be felt this year or the next. If we get no more strikes, then we might start seeing better films in 3 to 4 years. Or are you thinking of United States politics? If that's the case, there wasn't that much change between Trump and Biden. The same people in the government administration and experts since Bush the Elder. Story 38. I am focusing on myself and my family. I'll learn skills to get the bills paid and try to keep our heads afloat. If something happens, I am not going to care. I did a I can do this reflection, and it is in one ear and out the other on every level. I don't have it in me to care for my fellow citizens. If they want to be scared, ignorant, and ripe for exploitation, I might as well take advantage of it. Don't pray to God for a miracle. Pray for people to have the power to make the miracle happen, whether God wants it to or not. Story 39. I am not worrying about being replaced by artificial intelligence. What I consider is that the big companies and enterprises are going to use artificial intelligence to enslave their workers. I heard some companies are putting cameras above their employees' seats, some of them even putting timers in the toilets to record the minutes they consumed. Story 40. Yes, but I saw what 2025 to 2029 was going to be back in March 2020. I certainly did not want it to happen. I even convinced myself that it was only a coin flip's chance at best. Even then, I knew I was wrong deep down. I tried to extend an olive branch to people across all stripes of the political aisle, even supporters of Make America Great Again. And it was futile. People were determined and practically begging for this to happen, by either voting for it or through willful ignorance, and now they have it. I decided it was time to go after the election. I ripped off a lot of bandages to get out, but I know it was the right call long term. In the end, I have protected myself to the best of my abilities. I have more fear for friends and family back home at this point. I hope things don't get too bad. Story 41. UK here. I've literally just given up. Watching America unravel these days is like watching a beloved, slightly eccentric cousin start doing meth and develop a habit of recreationally shooting themselves in the foot. If America is, by and large, dumb enough to vote for Trump, and or apathetic enough not to care much one way or the other, last I heard, 90 million voters didn't vote at all in the last election, then by the rules the United States plays by, it's going to end up getting what's coming to it. The insanity will once again know no end. The corruption and stupidity will once again be mind-boggling and disgusting. Prescription drug prices will soar. The weakness in the face of surging dictatorships overseas will be bewildering, and the tolerance and de facto support for fascist developments will be terrifying. But let the cards fall where they may. What happens, happens. Let's get it over with.